Hi, that's me. I'm a 32-year-old named Samantha. The Only One Left by Riley Sager and Family Lore by Elizabeth. I did that backwards. Ruth is also obsessed with. Oh my gosh. Oh, Riley, you're such a good writer. Thank you, Riley. Hello, my name's Sam. Welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be reading other Booktubers' most anticipated books from 2023. So I basically just went through the Booktubers that I was subscribed to, and I watched their most anticipated video from last year, and I also just watched whoever's video popped up when I typed in most anticipated books from 2023. So I watched about 20 videos, and I just kept track of which ones out of the books that I was already interested in were mentioned the most, and I'm just gonna read the top 3 or 4. So out of all the videos that I watched, there were 5 that were mentioned 4 times, which I'm not going to read in this video, but I still find it interesting to see which ones kind of came out on top. And those are Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Sutanto, The Last Word by Taylor Adams, Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas, The September House by Carissa Orlando, and Out There Screaming, an anthology of new black horror edited by Jordan Peele. And a book that was mentioned 6 times was Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. And that was mentioned by Kayla, Meg, Marinez, Jenny, Monet, and Sid. One book was mentioned 7 times, and that was Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. And that was mentioned by Meg, Gabby, Jan, Leanne, Mara, Elizabeth, and Bree. A book that was mentioned 8 times was A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher, and that was mentioned by Kayla, Meg with Books, Reading with Meg, Marinez, Leanne, Mara, Monet, and Katie Coulson. And then the book that was mentioned the most, it was mentioned 9 times, was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And that was mentioned by Kayla, Meg with Books, Reading with Meg, Lexi, Jan, Mara, Haley Hughes, Sid, and Ashley. So I'm definitely going to read The Only One Left and A House with Good Bones. And then I haven't decided yet if I'm going to read 3 or 4 books in this video. I kind of wanted to just read 3, but the next book is Midnight is the Darkest Hour, and then that would make this whole video just like thriller and horror books. Whereas Family Lore is speculative. You know what? I don't actually even really know what genre Family Lore is or what really it's about. I just know that it's by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I love her, and I will read everything that she writes. I think I'll start with the ones that were mentioned the most, the top 3, and then if I have time, if I get around to Family Lore, then I'll read that one as well. So yeah, I think I'll start with A House with Good Bones, and then I will check in when that happens. Goodbye! Hello, hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I realized I never told you anything about these books. So I started A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. I'm about 35% through. So this one follows a 32-year-old named Samantha. Hi, that's me. I'm a 32-year-old named Samantha. So Sam has to go stay with her mom for a little bit, and the house that her mom lives in used to be her grandmother's house. And all the walls were white. There was this Confederate painting in the kitchen, but then when it became her mom's house, they painted all the walls vibrant colors. They took down the Confederate painting, they put up a different painting. But then when Sam goes to visit her mom, she's acting strange. All the walls have been painted back to white, the Confederate painting is back up, and her mom is just acting a little like dicey, like she's acting strange. There's vultures on the mailbox, there's no bugs in the garden, which Sam finds weird. She is an entomologist, so she studies bugs, and I hate bugs. So there was something that happened recently with bugs, and it was really gross and creeped me out. And she's like, oh, it's no big deal. I'm an entomologist, but if it was me, I'd be like, let's burn the house down. I'm really liking it so far. It feels exactly what I'm kind of expecting out of a T. Kingfisher, where the characters are fun so far. there's like, you know, kind of little bit of humor sprinkled in, but it's still got kind of like a vague like horror atmosphere, horror vibe. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. The chapters are told like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So it's fun to kind of see things like slowly become more and more unhinged. We just had the thing with the bugs, and there's some other creepy things happening. So I'm excited to keep reading and to see where it goes. And hopefully I love it just as much as I love all Tea Kingfisher right now. I'm really liking the audiobook so far. The audiobook narrator is really good. It's like acted, but not overacted. Yeah, I'll probably check in once I finish it, unless I have something super important to say. So I will see you then. I finished A House with Good Bones, and it just has to be 5 stars. I love Tea Kingfisher so much. She knows how to write a book. I just eat it up every single time. I love her characters, her plots, her prose. The ending went off the rails just a little bit, and I was thinking like, okay, maybe this is a 4.5, but I didn't even care. I was so entertained. I was just so entertained the whole time. It was so much fun. I love everything she writes. This one is her lowest rated book, like out of her more popular ones, like the more recent ones. Out of like the ones I have loved, like What Moves the Dead, Nettle and Bone, The Hollow Places. This one has the lowest rating. I think it's like a 3.7. And I can see why maybe the ending people didn't love as much. Also, if people had read Nettle and Bone and loved Nettle and Bone, I feel like although Nettle and Bone is more fantasy and this one is more horror, they're very similar. Like the main characters in them. So it's like a younger girl, a younger guy, and then 2 older women that are kind of like, one is kind of like witchy. So that's very similar to the main characters in Nettle and Bone. So I can kind of see maybe, you know, people are like, this is the same book, just like horror, but I still loved it. I had so much fun. I love that Tea Kingfisher puts like animals in her books. Like I'm thinking every single book that I've read from her, I mean, I've only read 5 of her books, but all of them have had like an animal that's kind of like more than an animal. Like Nettle and Bone had the bone dog and the demon chicken, and this one has a vulture. And her books almost feel like Disney movies in a way. I mean, this one's a bit more horror, but they all kind of have that like animal sidekick that like Disney movies have, and it's really fun every single time. I really liked the main character. It was first person narration style, and I enjoyed being in her head. I know sometimes for me, first person narration style can be kind of annoying if the character is like insufferable. You're like, oh my gosh, get me out of this person's head. But I liked being in this person's head. She was very logical, like scary things would be happening and she would be very level-headed about it and like actually think things through and okay, well, it can't be this, it can't be this, it can't be this, it must be this. And I feel like that's not a main character that I read a ton, like one that is like actually like rational. A lot of times they're like either like in full denial about things or they just make really dumb decisions, but I enjoyed being in her head and the decisions that she made. It was like an interesting character to follow. There was one line that I really loved. I want to give context, but I feel like it would kind of spoil it. Basically, she's thinking back to all the negative things her grandmother had said to her in the past, and she says, "The problem with family is that they know where all the levers are that make you move. They're usually the ones that installed the levers in the first place." And that was just such a perfect line and perfect explanation of like where like your insecurities might come from. They come from your family members or people that in your life that maybe are supposed to love you and they don't treat you as well as maybe they should. And I thought that that line was really great. And if I had the physical book, I would have put a little tab on there. Okay, so the next book I'm going to read is Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. And I read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife and loved it. It was 5 stars. And then The Last Housewife came out and I was interested in it, but it was one where, you know, reviews started coming in and people didn't love it as much as In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and I just kind of lost interest. And that would have definitely happened with this one as well, I think, because I really liked the cover and I liked the title. Honestly, I don't even know the synopsis. I don't even think I looked at the synopsis. I was just like, oh, it's another book by Ashley Winstead. I'll pick it up. But then I didn't read it and the reviews are coming in and people didn't love it. And it has like a 3.45 now. And who knows, I might have, if I wasn't making this video, I might have even taken it off my TBR. So yeah, I don't even know what this one is about. This one, what does the synopsis say? Beware of the dark, you might like what you find. Ruth Collier has always felt like an outsider, even as her father rains fire and brimstone from the church pulpit. In Bottom Springs, his word is as good as law. But there are things the townspeople fear more than God, like the Low Man, a vampiric figure said to kill sinners in their beds on moonless nights. When a skull is found deep in the swamp, a hunt for the Low Man begins. Suspicion turns to Everett, Ruth's oldest friend, with a dark past. As Ruth and Everett grow closer, Ruth begins to unearth the town's secrets, determined to discover the truth. But as the line between good and evil grows ever thin, how far will Ruth go to save the person she loves most? Okay, so it kind of sounds like a little vampire-y thriller. So I'm actually, I'm excited to get to that one. I'm gonna take my dog for a walk here and probably start the audiobook, and then I'll check in when I have something to say. I don't always want to just sit in front of my bookshelf and film. I always feel like I have to be productive. So I'm going to be packing while I give you a little update. My husband and I are going to a concert. We're going to see Noah Khan. We couldn't get tickets where we live, so I had to get tickets the next closest thing that was available, and that is a 6-hour drive. So we're gonna be just having a little weekend getaway. We're driving up on Saturday, seeing the concert, and then driving back on Sunday. So I'm very excited because I absolutely love him. I tried to get tickets for like 2 hours where I live, and I was just a wreck. So the next best one was Saskatoon. So that's where we're going. What can I tell you about the book? I'm about 30% through, and yeah, we're following Ruth and Everett, and they're from this small town in Louisiana called Bottom Springs, Louisiana, and it's a very religious town. Ruth is the pastor's daughter, and Everett is like the only one in the town that doesn't go to church, and his dad is an alcoholic, and his dad is evil, so therefore he's evil, blah, blah, blah. And it opens with the sheriff calling like this big town meeting. And I don't feel like this is a spoiler because it happens in like the first chapter. And they found a skull in the swamp, and they think it's the town's first homicide. So they're going to be investigating the town's first homicide. And Ruth still lives in town, but Everett is out of town. She hasn't seen him in like 2 years. So he comes back, and the first chapter ends with her saying like, it finally happened, they found the skull. So we know that her and Everett are responsible for this skull ending up in the swamp. And then it goes back like to the past, to when they met and this all happened. The narrator is like a Southern belle, and so instead of saying window, she says winda, which is fun to listen to. So yeah, and so far we've had, a couple of cliche lines. We've had let out the breath that they didn't know they were holding. Okay, well, we have like the Dollar Tree version of that. I let out my held breath has been said twice now. We've also had he looked up through his eyelashes. So yeah, I don't know. It could go either way, I think. I can see so far, like only being 30%, I can kind of see why maybe it's not the most popular. Like it has a pretty low rating on Goodreads. Like it has a 3.45. So I can see why, but so far nothing about it is making me like really hate it, but I mean, that could always change. Yeah, so I'll probably get a good amount listened to on the drive, and on the drive there, the drive back, I'm sure between the two, I will finish it. And so I'll let you know how the concert was, how the book was, and yeah, I'll see you in a couple days. Okay, we are back. The concert was amazing. I can die happy. Please bury me in this hoodie. Oh, sorry, I got it in Saskatchewan, so please bury me in this bunny hug. I finished Midnight is the Darkest Hour. It pretty much continued on in the same vein from when I updated you last. The town is investigating this skull, and in the process they find another skull, and then they start thinking back to other deaths that have happened and think maybe they sound more suspicious now that they know that there has been other murders. And of course the suspicions land on Everett because he's the only one in town that doesn't go to church. So that means he must be bad, while all the powerful men in the town just get away with doing whatever they want. We also get to slowly learn more about Ruth and Everett's past from when they became friends when they were 17 to now when they're 23. And I thought that it was actually really well paced. Like something will happen in the present timeline and then it'll flash back to something that happened in the past that explains it a little bit better, gives it a little bit of a different context, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought the timelines going together was really well done. Ruth is also obsessed with Twilight. Not only is the book mentioned a bunch, but whenever the author had the chance to say the word twilight instead of the time of day or the time of night, she took it. It's also continuously alluded to whether or not Everett is some vampiric creature lurking in the swamp to bring justice to the bad men of Bottom Springs, Louisiana. And it's always mentioned like he's really pale and he doesn't seem to age and he can run really fast and his teeth are really sharp, and Ruth just really badly wants her best friend to be Edward Cullen. This book has the type of ending where things go off the rails and then they stay off the rails. Like the action picks up and then it never dies down. And I absolutely loved it in this. Like, holy shit, I had so much fun. Yeah, overall, this one surprised me and I ended up actually really loving it. I'm giving it 4 stars. There were a couple plot points that I found a little stupid and the writing at times was like a little bit cringy. Also, I know I said I liked how like it kind of ended with action, but I think a part of me was hoping for a little bit of an epilogue where we got to see kind of how things played out. But I think it lent well to the story to just end up in the air like it did. But yeah, overall, I was very entertained. It was like Twilight mixed with Bonnie and Clyde and a sprinkle of Thelma and Louise. And I think I'll be thinking about it for a really long time. I already like can't get it out of my head. But anyways, moving on, I was at the library today and both The Only One Left by Riley Sager and Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo came in. And I'm not going to read both of them because I don't want this video to be very long. Because, I mean, let's be honest, no one's going to watch this anyways. So I'm just going to read The Only One Left by Riley Sager. If you don't know, this one is about Lenora Hope, who is now in her 70s and she's in a care home in Maine. And in 1929, she was rumored to have murdered her whole family because she was the only one left, the only one that didn't die. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope, stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. It wasn't me, Lenora said, but she's the only one not dead. And then now in the present day, she wants to tell her story, and she's telling her story to Kit McDeer. I think that's how you say the last name. And yeah, it looks like it says she's like typing out her story because she can't communicate, and then like the font is like typewriter style. And I think it'll be fast and a lot of fun. I've actually never read from Riley Sager before, and I was gonna save this book. I was gonna do a video like reading like really popular authors that I've never read before, but I'm reading Riley Sager in this one. So, but yeah, I'm really excited to read this one, and I'll let you know my thoughts when I have them. So I'm trying to read right now, but I'm so distracted by the sounds that are coming out of my dog. So he's very food driven. And if anything is like left on the counter, he'll find a way to get it. And he got some Easter candy and a jar of Nutella that was like a third full. And he puked already, and it was just candy wrappers. See if you can hear this. It stinks. So it's safe to say that Jax is feeling better.
I was up with him a couple times in the middle of the night because he had to throw up. But yeah, he's back on his shit trying to get all the food that is lying around. Are you feeling better? Nothing can take down this dog. He's had chicken bones, a whole container of grease, Nutella, loaves of bread, cupcakes. Unicorn cupcakes. Yeah, basically he is indestructible.
Jewels hang off your hands, diamonds sparkling from clear sand, swirl the world around your head, mend our tears with golden thread, saying no but I'm afraid it's true. It's time for me to try out something new. Galaxy stars like the view, and I'll be round the world with you. Seems like Earth is mostly blue.
So I'm about 74 pages into The Only One Left, and I'm liking it so far. Oh, I didn't show you my bookmark. I like to match my bookmarks to my books. I picked this little whale. Yeah, he can like swim in the whatever water is down here, the ocean probably. Anyways, I am 74 pages in, and I'm liking it so far. I had said when I was explaining it that Lenora was in a care home, but she's not. She's in her home. She's in the mansion where the murders took place. You know, the mansion that's on the cover. Yeah, Kit has to go to the mansion where Lenora lives and care for her there. There's still a staff at the house. There's Mrs. Baker, who is like the housekeeper, like head of the house. She was actually around before the murders. She was hired to be like an etiquette coach, like train the young sisters on the ways a woman should act. So there's her, and there's a maid, Jessica, and a cook, Archibald, and then like a house, or like then like a handyman, gardener situation, Carter. I'm a little worried that there might be like a romance between Kit and Carter, just simply because when she was getting introduced to him, you know, her internal monologue was like, oh, he's very attractive, or he's very fit, or whatever. So I don't know. He hasn't appeared since then, so we'll see. Yeah, and Miss Baker's like very strict. She makes them all wear like traditional uniforms, like a maid uniform, a nurse's uniform, a chef's outfit. And because Mrs. Baker was around like when everything happened, I'm sure there'll be some like suspicion of her or a storyline of something about her. The first 35 pages kept alluding to something that happened with Kit's last patient. There was a police investigation and she was suspended without pay, but now she was back. They could never actually put anything on her that she did anything wrong. And so there's the similarities between the two stories. Like both Kit and Lenora were accused of doing something bad, but nothing was ever proven, and now they have to be given the benefit of the doubt. And we did get a little bit of information on what exactly happened with Kit's last patient at like the 35 page mark, and I'm really glad that we did get a little bit of information, because I hate when books like allude to a dark secret or something that happened and they keep talking about it but never actually explain it. It's like the reveal is never as good as what they've been making you believe that it is. So I'm glad that we didn't have to wait like 200 pages before getting information on that. So yeah, I'm liking it so far. We've had the introduction of the staff, the little bit of backstory of Kit, and now it's just Kit looking after Lenora and kind of getting used to this new job. And I've had a couple of the excerpts of Lenora's story, the typewritten parts where she's like telling Kit her story. I'm about to get another one, so I'm enjoying those parts a lot actually. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading and see you soon. Okay, I had to hop back on here because I'm 120 pages in and I just totally spoiled the book for myself. Also, my daughter just came downstairs. She woke up and she told me I looked like Cinderella because of the bun. But yeah, I just totally spoiled it. So I'm a flipper. Like, I like to flip through the book. Like, for example, specifically, I'm looking for the typewritten pages to see like where the parts of Lenora's story are. And I flipped to something in the back and I caught sight of it, and it completely spoils the book. I'm sure there'll be lots more leading up to it and it'll still be enjoyable, but yeah, I think I just spoiled a major plot twist for myself, so that's great. Hopefully it doesn't ruin my enjoyment, and yeah, I'm curious to see like where in the book I would have realized that twist, like if it's kind of alludes to it at like 50%, or if it's literally like at the end is when you find out. If that's the case, then I will be a little bit bummed, but we'll see. I mean, it's my own fault. There is one part that made me laugh. We're at the point now where Kit is reading what Lenora has written, and she's like, oh, I didn't think Lenora would be such a good writer. Like, the prose is beautiful and like all this stuff. And it made me laugh because it's like Riley praising Riley. Like, oh, Riley, you're such a good writer. Thank you, Riley. Anyways, I hope I didn't totally ruin the book for myself, but I will see you in a minute and we will find out if I did or not. So I'm just getting a little bored now, I guess. I feel like I've been reading this book forever. Like, this is one where I feel like I'm spending so much time reading it and I'm only like 70% of the way. I still have like 120 pages left. The plot is just feeling a little bit one note for me right now. Like, I'm still enjoying it, but it's just Kit as she cares for Lenora, finding out her story from the past, and then also finding out a storyline of something that happened to the previous nurse. So it's just those two things, and it's been those two things for like the whole book, and yeah, I'm just kind of getting a little bit bored. I thought this was gonna be like a really fast-paced read, and it hasn't been, so I think that that's just kind of throwing me off a bit. And the writing is getting not cringy, but you know the guy from CSI Miami, like the one who he'd say like a really corny like one-liner and then put his sunglasses on and then the theme song would go? That's how the chapters feel when they end. And it'll end with like two sentences or like one-liners that make it feel like after I read them, I'm supposed to go like dun dun dun. Like, that's what it feels like. And it's like making me roll my eyes. Like, it's kind of making me laugh, and I don't think that's the intent. Yeah, I just want to finish it so that I can pick up something else and just be done with it. Finally finished The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and I'm gonna give it a 3. I did enjoy it. I had a good time reading it. It was starting to feel a little bit one note near the end, and also everything happened all at once. Like, all the twists happened all at the end. Everything felt a little like coincidental, and also the explanation for everything and the murders and everything at the end just seemed a little bit ridiculous. Like, there were so many ways you could have gone in this situation, and you chose that way. I feel like the main twist of the book was the one that I spoiled myself for when I flipped to the end. And you find out that twist at about the 300 page mark, and this is like 380 pages. From when I spoiled it for myself, I spent like that whole time up until we found out trying to like think it through and see how it even made sense. But lucky for me, I'm still a bit dumb. So when it did happen, I was still surprised because I failed to think of something very obvious. So I was still surprised for part of that twist. And then the twist just kind of kept going. And then it was this, and then it was that, and then it was this. And it was just too much. I felt like at the end, like it was simultaneously too twisty, but also like very predictable. I would still recommend it though. Like, objectively, I think it's a good book. It's a good time. Like, I had fun reading it. I just wanted to be a little bit more captivated, and I think I just wanted some things to make a little bit more sense. Like, there was a lot of like plot holes almost, and like inconveniences and things that it's like, okay, if these people really stopped to think about XYZ, they would have been like, wait, this situation is stupid. But yeah, that's all the books I'm going to read in this video. Overall, I feel like it was really successful. I found another like all-time favorite, T. Kingfisher. I found a book that I probably would have taken off my TBR because of the low Goodreads rating that I actually like had such a blast reading. And then I read my first Riley Sager. So now I can say that I did that. Anyways, thank you for watching if you did. And if I see you again, I see you again. Bye.